Community Beacon, Fridays at 6:30 EST, with your hosts Michaeldseville and Joel Simmons. A channel whose focus is liberty. A place where the lessons discussed and taught will create openings to a more open and freer mindset. A mindset where you may reach the height of your potential and excel. Here are your hosts, Mike and Joel.
That's my name. Hey, what's going on? What's going on, everyone? It is Community Beacon, dropping each and every Friday, 6:30. I am Michaeldseville, your real estate specialist here in Palm Beach County. Guys, on the other side of the camera, we have the incomparable Joel Simmons of the Tenacity Foundation. What is going on, brother?
Oh,
I miss the applause. I miss it.
oh man, we had to put that thing back in there. It's all good. Listen, man, another day, and I'm loving it. It's been a magnificent day. Sheltered in some good news, as well as sheltered in some news that was not as good, but nonetheless, it has still been a magnificent day, and I just will not stray from that magnificent mindset that I have going on here. That's just where I'm at.
We get a little lighting going on here. I appreciate you hearing these. They say you got to take the, I don't know how I feel about it, but they do say you got to take the good with the bad. So I'm glad that you're taking it. It is what it is. It is what it is. It is what we make it, actually. That's my belief. I heard Jocko Willink. I don't know if everyone's familiar with Jocko Willink. Huge podcaster, I wouldn't even call him a motivational guy, but big time Marine guy, real military man, so to speak, in the way he talks, the way he carries himself. You're like, yeah, that guy was in the military. I think he was a Navy SEAL at one point. But he often spoke about, or he spoke once about, every time there was a guy who would come in and he would say, you come to him with all these problems, like this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. And his reply would simply be good. And so he said the second time the guy came and the guy was telling him a list of situations, challenging situations that they had to get through. And he said, but I already know what you're going to say. And he's like, what am I going to say? He says, they're going to say good. He says, because what that does is it's giving you a chance to overcome situations. So that reigns true in my mind now that I'm listening to different things. And when things don't necessarily go as, quote unquote planned, it's like, good. We get a chance to make an adjustment. But yeah, here we are, guys. Let me quickly get into the housekeeping. Like, share, comment, hit the notification button. We appreciate it. You see the ticker on the bottom. Do exactly as it says. We definitely do love and appreciate all the engagement that we get from you guys, even just viewing. I appreciate that as well. Knowing that you're viewing. And because we, oftentimes if I see you out in public, we'll talk a little bit about some of the things that we go over here on the Community Beacon. Remember on Mondays, I'm dropping What It Takes each and every Monday, 4 to 6 o'clock. Please check me out Mondays, What It Takes. On Wednesdays, we got It Starts With Who, brother?
It starts with me. We want y'all to continue to just come on out, be a participant. We've definitely got some good things going on, and it's always a pleasure. And check them out. Let me see something here. I think that my editor is just sending me the up and coming new one that we have going on here. So I'll see if I can pull it up real quick and tell you all about that. Looks like it's going to be Tia Goodwin. Yeah, Tia Goodwin is who's coming up next. So this is going to be awesome. This is a good one. It's be your brilliant version. That's what it's all about. So Tia Goodwin's going to come dropping some knowledge. She's an amazing person. You're going to love it. Looking forward to seeing you there.
Awesome. And of course, each and every Friday, we culminate the week with Community Beacon. We are here. We appreciate you. Last week was a doozy. Last week was a pretty good show. We got into the,
last 3 weeks, man. It's been good.
Yeah. Get it? Absolutely. I think every time it's good. I think we're kind of biased on it. We're kind of biased. I'm biased because I always get something out. You know what I mean? Like I'm as much of a fan as I am a participant. We get to do some some mastermind level have some mastermind level conversations, and each and every bit that we can get, I just add. I take and I add to my template. I like to add it to what I have going on, and start to put it into what I, somewhat of my protocol. So yeah, I appreciate each and every week. Last week we were talking, as we continue to talk for the last 3 weeks, we've been speaking about business, health, balance, the holy grail of what everybody wants. I would imagine everyone wants a thriving business, a thriving family life, a thriving spiritual life, a thriving health life. We want to thrive within all context of it. And you kind of got into some of the weeds last week, and of course I was pause probing you. I was trying to get to the nitty gritty about what it's like to have a successful, in this context, a successful marital relationship, as well as really delving deep into your business and actually running it like a business. And sometimes we get these pie in the eye thought process of what it's like, especially if you're doing it by yourself, or heck, even if you have other partners. Sometimes we kind of get this narrow scope of all the positivity that may come from the business. We haven't even started the business yet, and when you introduce it to your spouse, you were getting probably some poignant questions. And you kind of started, you had an 8-step framework or 8 principles that you were going over in regards to the business. I think we ended on the 4th one, brother.
Yeah. So that's it, man. That's it. So, I mean, we can start off there if you like to just start off there. I'll list it out for you all again. And some of these kind of like they fold up and they are part of one another, but just these little pointers, if you will. Maybe not so much as steps, but the first one, you want to begin with a positive mind. Next, you want to know your why. Number one, most of us have a positive mind in the first place, but everyone getting ready to start a business. You should. Those out there who are being frauded, into starting a business, and they're like, I don't know, man. If you're starting off with, I don't know him and hawing, you're starting in the wrong pathway. You got the wrong mindset. You need to change gears immediately, because you will get what you give. And if you are giving yourself a failing mind, then I guarantee you will get a failing business. It's on the way. All right. So the next one is know your why. This is really important. I think it was Simon Sinek that wrote the book Start With Why. And I think it's a really important thing to do. Many people, all those that really are successful in business, they have strong whys. They have very strong whys, because when you, as Mike was talking about, getting in the weeds of it, getting the thick of it, when you get into the thick of any business, doesn't matter which one it is, there is going to be some trying days and moments. And I think that's where we kind of bridge that gap of going from business to family, or even marriage, in the case that we're talking about, significant other. You start to get into the thick of it real quick, especially when you are working a 9 to 5, and maybe you guys were taking care of bills, maybe you weren't, maybe you had a surplus, but someone decided, hey, you know what? I really feel like I can start myself, a food truck. I can do a food truck. That's going to be amazing. And now that they start a food truck, you go from working 40 hours a week to working 120, because you're working 40 hours to pay for this entrepreneur endeavor.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, everything's changed.
Yep.
There's only enough time left for you to sleep in the week. And now your whys better be on point. And if you're with somebody else, their whys need to align with your whys at some point in time. I think that's where we kind of got there. A couple more understanding you don't know it all. It's really important when you're talking with your significant other. Be ready to accept feedback. That's a mental capacity.
Yeah.
You got to be ready. before astronauts go into outer space, they put them into modules and they get them to feel what it feels like zero gravity, so that when they go into outer space, they don't just show up and start vomiting all inside of their mask. That would be bad. I mean, I would hate for my tombstone to say death by vomit.
Ah,
But this is serious. You know,
yep, yep.
you just like pop up and just go to the moon and not know what it feels like to, take on the turbulence of exiting the Earth's atmosphere. And then what it feels like to truly be weightless when your organs don't even weigh inside of your body. What does that exactly feel like? Questions that none of us would ever ask, nor, I mean, most of us would just assume that you just go into space and everything's fine. But no, it's not like that. So why would you just assume that going into a business that everything's going to be fine with your wife, with your kids, with your life? It's not.
So real brother, let's get into that part of it. Because I would imagine that even going into space as the with the astronauts, is that it, and I guess science is different. Forget that analogy. How about this? I don't know if a spouse is really ready or a person is really ready, especially if it's their first business, when they get into it, like exactly how that feels. I've seen people go on the conferences when they probably weren't traveling like they were traveling before. They're possibly the late nights that you speak of, food truck or no food truck, the truck has to be cleaned. I would imagine that you got to clean up like any restaurant at the end of the night. And sometimes that takes you to well into the night. And so how can you prepare a spouse who wasn't necessarily thinking about the business, but they're behind you 100%, they're behind you and supporting you, because at this point you've answered a lot of the questions that they had, the limited question that they possibly had, because they probably still don't exactly know even the questions to ask. So I would imagine as you get a little bit further into the business, there are more questions that are going to pop up, because now they're starting to actually have this experience. So what happens then? Because now at this point you're probably tired, right? You're doing the business and you're getting this business up and running. They're possibly tired and frustrated. You're possibly tired, and tired can lead to frustration on both ends of this timing that, because essentially it's the time, right? This time that you're spending now investing into the business versus investing into the family. You went from a 40-hour-a-week guy, for, just to make it simple, to now a 70 to 80-hour-a-week guy. What does that look like when the questions start coming from frustration, as I would imagine a person may have, this is their first foray into a real business?
I think that's a great question, Mike. I like it. I definitely appreciate it. And I would venture out to say, if you're really going to be in business, you're probably going to put as much time inside of your original business as you will inside of your side hustle. But I think that you're also going to extend that into the weekend, as well as into the late nights and early mornings. There's going to be a lot of time that you are not going to equate to the business because you're not physically doing the business. For instance,
Right.
we're talking about working, one of these little trucks, food truck. So you go out there and you work that food truck for 6 hours a day, Monday through Friday. Let's just say Monday through Friday, 6 hours a day. That's 30 hours. But then there comes a time when you have to go out and shop for the food. You have to buy and you have to prep all the food. That's not included in the hours of operation. Then there's
Right.
you need to take care of your finances, open up bank accounts. You need to adjust for whatever it is, advertisement. You need to meet with people, find locations. So let's give that another 20 hours throughout the week. You're already
Right.
at 50 hours right there. And then there's going to be an adjustment because some days you're not going to make as much money as other days. So you're going to start pouring into maybe a little bit on a Saturday. So you take another 6 hours or 8 hours on a Saturday to make up that difference. You're looking at right now about 60 hours. So it's just like the whole mindset behind the time frame. That's why you got it. This is what I call step 5 of plugging in holes, because you're not going to know those things. So to start off with the question that you asked in the very beginning, which was, how, that adjustment or however you're going to deal with those different types of things when your spouse has agreed 100% backing of you according to what you all already know. In the first couple of weeks, there's going to be a ton of stuff that you're going to learn, and your spouse is not going to know that those things are coming. Neither will you.
Right.
So even if it was, science, and it was like going in outer space, no matter how many modules that you create to show what could happen, what actually happens is always different. And that's what you have to deal with. And so, like, the preparation is I'm not going to say don't get tired. What I'm going to say is prepare time for your spouse. This needs to be a part of your plan. This is why that why setup is important. When you start to say, I'm doing this because I want to spend time with my wife, I want to spend time with my kids, and you are doing, you've gone from 40 hours to 100 hours, 120 hours in a week, and you are not spending a half hour or an hour of quality, dedicated time. And see, this is going to be one of those things that this is going to be something that's going to snag people up, because they're going to turn around and the first thing out of their mouth is going to be like, baby, I'm tired. I'm working so hard. And baby going to be like, baby, I didn't really care about this thing in the first place. I'm just supporting you. So don't bring your tired butt to this bed. Don't bring your tired self to the playground. Don't bring your tired self to the basketball court with your son. Don't bring your tired self to the homework table. Now, just like you got an energy drink to make it out to work, you better go get a coffee, an energy drink, and whatever you got to do. But you better pep yourself up, slap yourself in the face before you walk in that door, because now is the real thing. You got to give them dedicated time. And you may need to adjust, like I adjust some things. So in my day from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, I do all business. That's it. I'm just checking up on my numbers. I'm checking up on my team. I'm checking up in with my assistant. I'm finding holes. I'm filling holes. I'm doing all these things. But you know what else I did? I introduced whenever I'm available, I'm home because I'm not doing my 9 to 5, so to speak. I take my son to school. And that half hour, I spend it with him. Oh man, how many Teslas can you find? I turn on the music. I'll punch him in his chest. Whatever I can do, I stimulate activity for him so that him and I can bond. And if it's all I got is that half hour, he's not going to say I'm an absent dad, because I'm building a lifestyle for him and I to live in. And 10 years later, when he's moved out of my house, he's not really concerned about that lifestyle anyway. Matter of fact, he's okay without it.
I love it. And there's not really much to add to it. I heard intentionality. Get intentional with your time. Start to schedule it. I find that going into business, specifically, especially service business, when you're servicing, when you're working with clients and you're in a service business, and this probably may carry over to other businesses, is that you can become a better friend, a better partner, a better associate, a better neighbor, if you just follow the simple principles of business, of doing what you do in business, and you kind of carry it over. The scheduling, the blocking, because now it's not, Dad, it's a Saturday and it's just a lazy Saturday. Let's say someone works Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, but it's a Saturday and I'm going through the motions with my kids. I'm kind of halfway here. I'm kind of halfway not. I'm turning the game on because that's what we do on Saturdays or Sunday. You know what I mean? Like, it's just this haphazard way of going through life. When you're forced to become intentional is what it sounds like to me, brother. When you're telling me you're forced to become intentional with your wife and with your son, I thought about just being a great father. You can't even, there's so many intangibles. You can't teach it. AI would have to sit around and study a great father for a long time. I was noticing that with my sons. Just little things that you do. You know, what really resonated for me was the punching in the chest, because it's in a playful manner. It's not a violent manner. It's just a manly manner. Can I say that?
I like it.
You know, and if this doesn't happen over time, right? If that playful punch doesn't happen over time, a child goes from 0 to 18 and life is going to punch him in his chest. But if he's getting these steadily love taps, I'm changing it, guys. We're not punching in the chest, we're love tapping. He gets these love taps from his father. And I do it with both of them, the oldest one and the youngest one. They get love taps from me. It's a real environment around here, playful, real environment. But it's just teaching them these little things that happen as they, and so now they're maturing, and it's not, it's normal. You know what I mean? This kind of manly little things that we're teaching. I love it, brother. I'd like to hear more about the communication, and specifically, I guess, like the trust, because I think a spouse that gets behind her husband, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'd love to hear about it, her husband or the husband getting behind his wife. There's some type of trust in the vision of that person. So when these things happen out of frustration and they see that you're making these adjustments, it also increases the trust in the experience. What do you I don't know if that ties into any of the ones that we haven't spoken about.
Yeah, I mean, it's you're right on track, Mike. Right on track, and that's exactly it, man. I love it. So, like, what I was leaving off at on the fifth one, you're ready to fill holes, and as you're filling these holes, you should you should build your business plan.
Yeah.
You should do that. So now the question that you're asking about is like the communication and
Yeah.
whatnot. That's going to be 6 and 7. Check in. You should have a time to check in.
Come on.
You got to check in. I don't care if it's a daily thing or a weekly thing or a monthly thing, but the more time you put behind it, you need to schedule it.
Right.
You need to schedule it. And then you need to do that. Like, I got a buddy of mine, and he's not huge on the communication thing or whatever, but when he tells you he's going to be at an event, a meeting, or whatever, he keeps his word, whatever it is, even if he doesn't like it. If he told you, hey, I'm going to be there at 2:00, and he's got disdain for it, but he told you he's going to be there at 2:00, he would rather you not even send him a reminder. He could care less about reminders. He may not even answer you or respond if it's at 2, and you're like, hey, bro, I want to see you in 15 minutes. You may get nothing, but you better be on at 1:52, 1:55, 1:58, because he will be clocking into the Zoom. He's going to be there.
Yeah.
Because he keeps his word. The issue is that we don't keep our word with our family.
Say it again.
We tell the business partner, we tell the person that's going to give us money, we're going to show up at 5. We're there at 4:30. We're there at 4. We're inside of our cars. We're preparing for this meeting because we don't want to blow it, because it may not come again. But when it comes down to our family, when it gets home to our wife, we don't stop outside, and we don't debrief ourselves and just hot wash over our minds so that we can leave everything at that door and walk in and be ready for whatever's coming with our wife, and be ready to accept whatever she's bringing, however her day was. We're not ready for the kid. I got to be ready for my dog. My dog will run up on me. I had to start thinking about that. Like, I can't carry all my junk in the house as soon as I walk in, because he's like, dude, you haven't seen me in 12 hours. You need to pay me.
It's time.
And I got stuff all over the place that he's going nuts, going around in circles, ready to bump his head up against the wall. My son will come down the steps when he hears the door open. He wants a hug. He's going to give me a love tap, just to let me know that we still got it. My wife's going to come around the corner. She's probably going to spit out a couple things about her day. And then she's going to tell me about what she's done and cleaned the house and how she's preparing dinner. But I need to be ready to accept those things. So, like, checking in can be as small as that, but it can also be much larger. It's like, babe, I know we haven't had any time together over the last month. I've been planning something. We're going to have a weekend. I don't care if we don't make any money in the side gig, but you got to keep your word. And this is also part of adjusting to the circumstances. Your wife not talking with you as much, man, you better adjust because she's going to start talking to somebody else. And I don't mean like she's going to go out and find someone else to replace you as in another man or another sexual encounter, because a lot of times that's the first thing that we start to think about. Especially, women think about the same thing. Oh, honey, if you ain't doing X, Y, Z with him, you're going to go and give it to someone else. And there's a lot of truth behind all of these statements, right? Especially the younger we are, the more the drive for the desire there is. The older you get, a lot of that stuff begins to fall off, and it's not as necessary. But you better make it necessary because you don't want them to be without when the time comes that they need it. But what I'm also getting at is she may find another friend.
Yeah.
No sexual encounter, no nothing like that. She just wants to go hang out with somebody else. She has just filled your time with yoga with her friend. She just filled her time with going to the park. She has just filled her time with talking on the telephone to her cousin. She has just filled her time. Something else that's not you. And once she gets attached to it, you may not want to relieve that in order to give time back to you, especially if you're inconsistent. Inconsistency is the result of inconsideration.
We need the sound machine so we could drop a bomb on that. Inconsistency. You repeat that, brother? Is the what?
Inconsistency is the result of inconsideration.
Yeah. I just want to look in the camera for a little bit so we can all digest that. And I think we often feel as if these things have to be some type of huge shifts. Like we think that it's almost like the hitting the lotto. There's people out here who are like, the only way I'm going to get rich is if I get this big bulk of money that comes in at one time. I got to get $1 million. It has to I need to do something in order today so that within the next X amount of time, week or whatever it is, I just need this million. I need all this money to hit at the same time. And that's not how money works. That's not how any huge progress really works. Ultimately, 99% of the time, you know what I mean? That's why we start to put winning the lotto and getting hit by lightning in the same kind of, using them as the same metaphor. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't work like that. These are just little small things that happen. And this is the inconsistencies start with the little small things. I'm only going to be 30 minutes late. I don't need to call anybody. I'm on my way. I'll be there. Right? It starts with, I'm going to come to this event and I don't show up. Oh, they don't need me there. There's enough people at the event. It's just these little things. And just bringing it back to what you said, we'll keep our word to the investors, the money man, the businessman, to keep up this image in public. But then with the people who actually care and are already, yeah, if you're married to them, they're very vested in you. They're very vested in you and your success. I'm gonna say that. I would like to say that if you're married to a person, you're very vested in them, and they're very vested in you. You have a vested relationship. And your children, you're vested in your children, and your children are vested in you, wanting to see your success. And I'm sure you want to see most people want to see their children's success. So, but we're not keeping our word to these people. And it's when people talk about the little things, it's the little things. Even in business, it's slight millimeter shifts, slight millimeter changes. But over time, just like in finances, it compounds. Over a 6 month, and it's a lot harder to rectify something a year down the line than it is to do what you mentioned, the check-ins, and keeping to those check-ins, whether they're daily, whether they're weekly, something that makes sense to both of you. But the almost over communication of it, especially getting into business, I would imagine.
So true. I like the way you said that too, and it just brought to my mind. It's like, many of us are somewhat prepared for a downpour. And especially coming from Florida, you can ask just about probably 90% of Floridians, and they'll tell you that they already have at least 2 cases of water, maybe 3 inside their house. They already have cans of beans and something inside their house. They already have some sort of hurricane supply. They're not looking for everything every time. I mean, we all go out crazy, and you watch the news and you see them all lined up in the gas station. But I guarantee that 90% of Floridians already have certain supply. They already got some batteries in their house. They already got flashlights. 90% of Floridians have something that they claim to be preparation for the hurricane, even when it's not in season, because we're expecting a downpour. But the concern is it's not necessarily the downpour, and there's always going to be someone who's still not ready for as bad as it gets. But we build from that. We build from it. It hits us heavy, then it's gone, and we rebuild, because we're good at rebuilding what we have. There's a difference, though, in a slow, gradual rain that does not cease. If you get a gradual rain that rains 2, 3, 4, 5 months without cease, the erosion from that will destroy homes. It'll make the land so you cannot rebuild on it. It'll leave pockets in the ground so that the ground will just cave in, because it is constant, it is steady. The steady drip will destroy the foundational properties of the building. And if you're not guarding yourself against the constant drip, and just like you were saying, Mike, it's only 5 minutes late. I ain't calling about that. And you show 5 minutes in. And then it's like, it's only 15 minutes. And that's the next day. Another week later, it's just a half hour. And then you come in with, oh, but babe, I got stuck. There was an accident. It's not my fault. And then the next week, there's another one. And the next week, there's another one. And every single time, there may be a bill. Oh, but I had to go out of town. But I missed my flight. All of these different things start to accumulate to the movement, the shifting of the foundational components of the relationship between a husband and a wife, and they cause for a collapse that the individual who's looking to start their business, they're going to be surprised, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she just left me and she took the kids. But she's got a list. she's gonna come back with a list. She's gonna be like, you weren't here on this day. You weren't here on this day. I called you, you didn't answer all day. I needed you to pay that bill. You didn't pay that bill, and the electricity went out for a couple of seconds. You're not up. Your son was sitting around looking for you, but you didn't show up. You missed 3 basketball games. You said the first one it never happened again. The constant drip.
The constant drip. My Lord. Guys, we got like what, 2 more?
One more. The last one is just grow. The last one,
okay.
Grow.
Speak on
it.
I
Circumstances and then grow. But it's got to be a mindset, Mike. You got to have a mindset. It's like, okay, this is what I did wrong. I'm going to change that. And then you have to implement steps to change it. You can even do habit stacking. You know, if it's something where you always forget to call your wife, you take off early in the morning, you forget about her all day long. You just create a habit stacking. You say, the minute I sit down at my desk, I'm going to call my wife and I'm just going to say, hey, babe, I want you to know I love you. I'm about to get started. You okay? Okay, all right, great. I can't talk long, but I needed you to know before you start this day how proud I am of you. And I'm so glad to be with you. And I just love you. All right, I'm going to get going. And then you hang up. 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And every single time you sit down in that chair, boom, you make the phone call. Habit stack. You can say every single time I get ready to go to lunch, before I walk in the door, when I get ready to open up the door, I'm going to stop. I'm going to make a phone call. Hey, babe, I just took my lunch break. And you just stack those things, stack them up. And then every single time you can set your alarm clock. You say to myself, I'm going to quit at 6 o'clock, no matter what. But when the alarm clock goes off, it's going to say, call your son, call your daughter. And immediately the alarm goes off, you call them. If for some reason you can't stop that day and you're sitting in front of a CEO or someone who's about to give you money for your business, let the thing ring. And if they don't have enough respect for you to keep your word to your son, to your wife, to your daughter, then maybe you don't need the money from them. There's more money than what we think.
Absolutely.
You call them up, you say, hey, little man, I just want you to let you know I love you. You know, there was, this meeting that I'm in is running over. But just like my schedule, I'm gonna make sure I call you. Listen, little man, I'm wrapping up right now. I'm gonna see you in a little bit. And then you hang up and you say, hey there, Mr. So-and-so. I really could use your support in this. I think that we can do A, B, C, X, Y, Z. But I'm gonna tell you something that's very important to me, and I hope that this doesn't mess up what we have together. But my son is important. Do you have a child?
That's normally what you start off with. Do you have a child?
I'll be available for you tomorrow at 3 o'clock.
I love it, man. I love it. Lots and lots and lots of gems dropped in this episode. Guys, if you are thinking about getting or starting a real business, and you're in, you got a significant other, these are huge. These are huge. So I'm hoping you all are taking notes. My final things, there's not much more to add. I think it was very, very complete. Know your mate. Know him. There's one thing I heard the minister say one time. He said, man, them women study you. They are studying you. So you might need to do some studying with your mate if you're male. So know your mate. Know what's going on. Try really, really plug in. I love the consistent. I'm a very consistent person. Consistency can also be seen as stagnant for some people. So every now and then you want to kind of come out of the blue, take them out. I know we didn't plan on it. You plan it. Don't tell them. They're used to whatever you were doing, these little trust things that you have been building up, your trust bank. Let's call that. You're building up your trust bank. You want to be wealthy in the trust bank with the consistency. But every now and then, hey, boom, we're taking a trip. We're going on a date where don't even cook. Do certain things just to kind of, shift. Because I definitely believe everyone wants to believe or know that they're special to you. And that's ways of outside of I'm just being rigid in my rigid ways or my consistent ways. Sometimes you be a little flexible. Hey, listen, especially if it's a slow day. Hey, I'm shutting this thing down. I'm going to take my wife out for ice cream or something. And just, but know your mate. But a lot of these things that you can do will definitely, that, and it happens a lot. And some of these businesses aren't even successful. I'm going to be honest with you. There's people who are losing their businesses and their spouses at the same time. Right? So these are just little tips for you to do both, because if you have support on, from either end, they kind of all come together. So that's the only thing that I would add to it. But the brother did an awesome job. Man, brother, any final words on it?
Hey man, I love what you just put in there. I think that's definitely a good tip, as far as keeping the relationship fiery, and keeping there a little bit of ambiguity inside there, a little bit of suspense, a little bit. It's romancing the stone, man. Sometimes you got to romance the stone. You have a consistent way of doing things. Sometimes you got to romance it and bring life into that. And it's important. Sometimes I'm gonna tell you something. Sometimes if you do that inside your business, you'll find something new there as well.
Absolutely.
You'll definitely find something new. So I love it. Hope that everybody watches all 4 episodes. I hope y'all comment, bring up questions, challenge us. That's awesome. We love challenges. I love challenges. So bring up challenges. Throw it down there. I don't check mine as much as Mike does, but my team does check it. So send it, and I'll respond to it once my team tells me. I'll be like, "What they said? What?" I'm gonna respond.
Don't you dare challenge me. No, I'm joking.
Man, right, I hope y'all go rewind that back and take a picture of that. That was a mugshot worth $1 million right there. I'm telling you.
Man, listen, guys, we appreciate you all. Please check in. Like the brother said, engage with us. Any questions, any other suggestions, so some of us out there, we definitely willing to take a look at it. Catch us on the next one. We appreciate you. Peace.